no-hitter for 6 2/3.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
I'm sorry.
Maybe I ought to call up and see what the Tigers are doing today, right? So that's pretty good. That's a good little segue right there. Is that the proper term?
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Segue?
Segue is the proper term.
Yeah, okay, I feel better.
Good use.
All right. Well, guys, good to see everybody here today. And, we kind of reflecting back and yet moving forward where we're at right now and how we got to get there. So, new things after kind of watching the video of this last game and kind of dissecting it. One of the things that kind of really hit me was how hard our guys were playing. And in some ways, maybe tensed up, because I tell you what, we were flying around. There's no doubt about it. You talk about the missed tackling, which obviously everybody in an outstanding crowd, and I'm telling you what, that was great atmosphere. I go back. I really applaud the people who showed up and supported this team because they made a difference, and it was good. And I feel for those people that came to put themselves behind these guys in this program, because that was an outstanding crowd. People were in it. Man, it was great. But obviously the end result was not what we wanted. Yet, as far as looking at the missed tackles and how we had opportunities with guys in their grasps and maybe trying to make the knockout hit instead of the wrap-up part, how do you remedy that? Well, we went back and looked at how well we were tackling prior to this game. Shoot, we were wrapping up some pretty good players around the country and fundamentally, weren't trying to knock them out, trying to get our hips in place and I think part of it might have been from maybe trying to do too much. I really because the effort was there, man. We were flying around, so from that part, reflecting back and showing showing how we did do it, I think is really important, and we'll do that with our guys. The turnovers are always going to get you. The continued focus on when a guy scrambles, picking up the body in your area. We'll do it just like we do it every week and keep emphasizing it, and move forward that part. It was a statement game. I felt that going in, and there's a lot of disappointment, a lot of hurt. That's a good thing. It should hurt. It should hurt when you look back and see the games that you're in and how close you are to closing it out in the right fashion. And, I go back to, we're putting ourselves in position, and that's a positive because I'm not sure we'd been in that position for a lot of years. And now it's a matter of not tensing up when something bad happens, but rather seizing the moment as an opportunity, to battle back like we did in a couple games, and understand that we can. As I've told you, our margin of error is not big. I get it. I understand. We play teams that have explosive playmakers. It's hard, and yet sometimes we make some guys that necessarily aren't explosive or hadn't been explosive, as we did in the case of that running back. Boy, what a performance he put on, against us, and yet, understanding that look, it comes back to not less effort, because our effort's been pretty good, but don't hit the panic button, guys. And I'd love to say act like you've been there before. You've heard that I'm not sure that we've been there before. So the question should be, how do you teach that? Well, you teach that by staying the course. You teach that by showing when you are doing those things that help you follow through. And what a better opportunity that we have now this week, playing in a game that means so much to so many people. Something that, I mean, from a historical standpoint, you guys kind of probably got to know me. I kind of appreciate historical landmarks, and this is one of those games. And I think it's exciting to play in. I think it's great. It's what makes, again, college football what it is. We get to play in the longest standing, rivalry this side of the Mississippi. And what a great looking trophy. And the issue is, I've only seen it. I haven't been able to tangibly hold this thing yet. And I'm not sure the guys on our team have. They've done a great job of keeping it. And my hat's off to them and what Dave's been able to do up there. And yet, you know what? That's what makes these games so much fun. And being able to go back for the second year. Last time I checked, when they had rivalries, they usually rotated, home and away. Evidently, somebody doesn't think it's much because we're going back there again. But that's even better. We learned a lot from our trip last year. I learned a lot from the trip last year up there, and I'm looking forward to playing the game, and more than that, I'm looking forward to practice today. I really am. I'm looking forward to getting our guys out there and getting them back refocused and recentered, and then we put a good week of work in and get on the bus and drive an hour and 20 minutes or whatever it is, depending on snow on the pass, I guess. And I hope we don't have to chain up. I was never good at that, and when I took driver's ed in Montana, you had to take it in the winter. So they'd take you up in the mountains and teach you how to put chains on tires, taught you how to actually control spinning Brodies, and that kind of stuff. I hope they don't ask me to put chains on the buses because I was horrible at it. But this ought to be a lot of fun, and we should look at it that way. It means so much to so many people, and we get the opportunity to go and get that boot, and that's, man, you should want to be a part of that. You should want to be a part of that, actually playing within the game, and so it should be a good. Injury-wise, I'd love to tell you where we're at with Shaq Barrett. He's not a bad player, and we're better when he's on the field. But I thought Corey James kind of did some things and really put some pressure on. And you know what? He might have been trying too hard. He's one of those guys that missed a couple of those wrap-ups in the game. But with that, Shaq won't practice today. He'll be there mentally, taking as many reps as he can from that standpoint, but physically he won't. Where that, later in the week we'll talk about it as it goes and see the progress. I think they started the examination of his ankle around the neck area because I guess it's a high ankle, and I guess it goes all the way up there first before you go all the way down. So whatever that means, but I do know how painful those are, and they are hard to come back from. So not to make light of the injury, but it is technically a high ankle sprain. Okay, still trying to figure that out. And then getting guys back, I think we'll find out. Deontay Clyburn has been cleared to practice, so we'll see how he is as far as our inside linebacker stuff, and see how he moves. Helps us in a game like this from a speed standpoint because of how they play the game, with their open and spread stuff. So hopefully we'll get him back. But he's been cleared to practice, which is really good. Jordan Baden will take full reps this week as he kind of worked in last week, which is good. It was, in step back, it was good to see Chuck get a couple catches and get into the game. I think that's going to help us as we, keep rolling through this conference season. So, other guys, I think. Oh, Nolan should be back. He's been cleared. He'll go full practice today. Kevin Davis, I don't see that for really guys the rest of the year right now. Just, we kind of set that back a little bit, and that's too bad because he's obviously a really good player.
Can he get a medical hardship here then?
Well,
he didn't redshirt last year?
That's one of the things that we need to petition, and I think the evidence is there for it. But I don't have the final say, obviously, but the NCAA does, which can be good or bad. Donnell had a little thigh contusion, but I thought he did some good things in the game, but he should be back. Other than the nicks and bruises, Max Morgan played throughout the game. I still think there's some carryover with that shoulder, but he's not going to let us know. That's kind of who he is and what he's all about. And that should be, Jordan Gregor, offensive lineman. He twisted up that ankle too, or something like that. So he'll be limited today. I just know Jordan, there's a pretty good chance he'll be there just based on kind of how he is. Didn't miss any snaps. No, and yet, it just kind of, but it is something that's on the report. So, but other than that's where we're at going into the game. And guys, I really look forward to this week, as I look forward to every week. But this one, that the things that go into a trophy game, I just think are something special. And then obviously the proximity of the two schools and the people up there that come down and shop at our Walmart and Sam's Club, I think that's cool. You guys know you drive around town, man, there's a lot of Wyoming license plates. And, I think that's part of it. I think that's something that's special. So, with that, some questions.
You talked Saturday, and you said you still believe in this team.
Absolutely.
What they can do when you're good. You've seen the other side of the ledger too. So have you gotten to the point where you trust this team?
Yeah, I trust them. And here's, guys, what I was wondering when I was going to watch the video, if it was a lack of intensity or effort, and really measured how hard, these guys are playing hard now. Sometimes we might be pressing a little bit. I think, the expectation that I put on them. Guys, I put a lot of expectations on them. My dad put a lot of expectations on me growing up. It wasn't easy. And yet, when you learn to deal with it and handle them, the effort part is one thing, I think that sometimes I didn't see all the time when I first got here. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing us in games. I'm seeing us with leads. I go home afterwards as miserable as everybody, and probably more so. And it isn't for me. It's because I know the investment that these guys have made and continue to make. And that's as a coach, I feel for them. I feel for the fans, because they came out, and I tell you what, they were into that game, man, and it was cool. That was a great environment. And I look forward to when we do that every week, which is going to happen. And yet, getting over that hump, the question should be from you guys, well, what do you do? Well, you don't hit the panic button. I see the progress. Continue staying the course, and yet let's go back and reflect on when we have done it well and what got us there, and not, oh boy, I'm not going to jump off a cliff. So, guys, it's hard for you. I get it. It's hard for everybody because we are judged on Saturday. What did we get on the test? And we've had a lot of F's on tests. But I know our preparation and you know, we're getting a lot of good grades in subsections of that test. And now we got to complete it. So
the next step would be making it consistent. If you're getting the effort you see,
yeah,
you go and you've got the game plan, you think they've got it down, why doesn't it translate on game days? But particularly when you look at your pass defense right now. I mean, it's 5 passes of 48 yards or more in the last 2 games that have gone for scores.
You know, I used to like when I was a quarterback when I'd get a couple of those freebies.
Yeah.
It helped the stats, man. It really did. And yet we can't give them freebies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we asked this last week to disrupt this passer and get him off his – we disrupted the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job of extending the play, keeping his eyes downfield, and creating some plays, which the next step is, you know, let's stay in coverage, right? Some things, guys, you got to understand this. When you're playing a team that's going to throw it 40, 45, 50 times a game, this week, I mean, this Smith guy,
It's good. It's 3rd in the nation in total.
I needed to hear that, right? I mean, he should be licking his chops right now, don't you think? What's he saying? Hell, all I got to do is break the pocket and keep my eyes downfield, and I'm going to get some cheap 70-yarders, right? I think this guy should be overconfident going into the game. If it was me, I mean, shoot, I'd be excited about it if I were him, if I had his skill, which I don't. But, you know, I think there you go. I mean, we're starting to see the challenge of this league and the quality of the players in it and how one guy can really control a game, which I thought David Fales did. And, you know, my nightmares came to fruition as I saw this guy play throughout last year and this year. And then this guy, the value he brings to that team when he was out, they were a different team a year ago. You know, I mean, let's face it. And when you go back and look at our game, you know, other than us just giving him the ball, boy, he was impressive to watch. You know, as a football purist, I got to give the guy due, man. I mean, he makes them a different team when he's on the field. And, you know, I also look at their team. I see number 55, you know, the defensive lineman. I mean, how we missed on him, and he's from Colorado, I have no idea. This guy's a heck of a player. You know, we probably missed on, you know, number 4, Tanner Gentry, right out of down there outside of Denver. You know, I look at some of these guys. I mean, Ruffin, the 33, the receiver. Doesn't make me real happy, you know. Spending out-of-state money in Wyoming, they should be right here. So I missed on them.
Sticking with Smith, Bob Davey said something interesting about him last week when they're getting ready to play. His description of Smith was he plays 100 miles an hour.
Oh, I call it a rolling ball of butcher knives. You ever thought about getting out of the way of a rolling ball of butcher knives?
I want to, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I love it, man. He shuffles and sets and balls out. It's not there. He moves. He keeps his, you know, he knows he's got total command of what Dave's trying to do up there. Guy's fun to watch, man. He's good for college football. Ask Nebraska. I mean, don't think they weren't happy to see him leave their borders when the game was over because how he plays the game. And, you know, he can play in inclement weather because he is from Oregon, right? Rains there every day. So anything he sees up there he's good with. I like the way the guy plays the game.
How's he compare and contrast to Fales?
You know, I think it's hard to explain because they're a little bit different because of the systems are so different.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Right.
so and would one thrive in the other? I think so because of just how they play. You know, it's got a quick release. He can get rid of it. You know, he takes advantage of your weaknesses, which both of those guys do. So I think they would both thrive in each other's system because, they're really good players. But, I like how Bob, kind of thought about how he plays the game. That's right. And I just get this, rolling ball butcher knives, man. Get out of his way.
Jim, what are the things you guys can do to try to improve that pass defense? So, statistically, you're next to last in the country.
Next to the last. Oof.
UTEP's ahead of you, behind you. In efficiency, pass efficiency.
Okay.
defense.
Only one team
Well,
can
I'm
do
glad
touchdown
UTEP's here then.
But
I guess when you look at it, Kelly, it's, there's times we played great pass defense, and yet when you give up, 16 chunk plays, something like that. I don't know what it is. I can't remember the number. That's going to hurt you. And when you look at how they were given up in those given games, it wasn't much effort by the opponent, and yet is it about them or is it about us? Obviously Trent was too far off the hash in quarters coverage. They ran a little nod, hit a guy after we had him sacked, the play before. You think about that one. I think about the scramble and, threw it to the running back. Aaron's, that's his guy, and scramble and had his eyes. It isn't like our guys are trying not to cover them. And yet the key is, as a teacher, as an educator, is now this happened. Okay, you can't deny it. You don't. What do we learn from it, and how do we get it corrected? We get it corrected by keep teaching, keep pounding the fundamentals. Don't do more than what you think you have to do. Do your job, maintain that, and work forward. And like I said, if I'm up at Wyoming right now, and I'm that quarterback and those receivers, I'm feeling pretty good about going into this week when you look at it statistically. And then yet when you break it down, you go, you know what? These guys have been on point now. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I know you don't hit the panic button. You point it out and you teach. That's what we do. And stepping back into it, that's what we got to do.
On that scramble play with Boston, it was Aaron Davis's responsibility.
Yeah, because he was on the backside, and that's
Right.
the backside linebacker, and the quarterback ran the other way, and then my eyes went right to that guy.
In the past, you had said that there are some communication problems between the secondary, but they've proven that they, have gotten better with communicating. Is
Yeah.
Is it a game plan problem or is it an execution problem?
No, I'd say most of those are broken plays, that have happened, so the communication, when you go back, was it the call? Well, no. Normally the guy's sitting right inside the hash, right on the outside leg of the tackle. That's a great call. You know what I mean? But
So it's execution.
yeah, it's the detail of the execution, and don't try to do too much.
Is part of it too, you get a quarterback like Fales, he kept some of those plays alive 8-10 seconds.
Guy looked like Fran
That's asking a lot to
Tarkington.
cover somebody for more than about 4 or 5 seconds. Is that part of it too?
That is part of it.
It's just.
But you've got to stay in coverage. You can't let that movement affect the guy in your area.
But on at least a couple of those plays, it certainly did.
Oh, shoot, it did. Yeah, yeah.
Jim, as you build a program,
Uh-huh.
everybody's using dime, and you need depth. Are there enough DBs out there recruiting? Everybody's got to have a lot more DBs than they did 15, 20 years ago.
You need. It's interesting that you said that, because when you look at maybe the importance of what you have to have now against some of the spread stuff and how it's gone, obviously, your nickel dime packages become your base, because of what you're seeing. You still need depth at D-line because of the pace, right? So really it's the linebacker area that probably you need to take less of, if that makes sense. And so, and I would say this from that standpoint. I think in our case, it's, continue to add the skill position players that, you hear me talk about explosive capability. Well, that's a shutdown corner too. You know what I'm getting at? I mean, that's not just the receiver or the running back or the quarterback or whatever, right? It's
Defensive tackle.
that's the guys. And I think we've got a little bit of that in Corey and Shaq, and I don't know if Shaq's going to play, but I mean, just those two guys that can make that explosive play from that position. I was really happy to see Tyree Simmons come up and compete, and yet, as soon as they motion, you've got to go hug the receiver, and that happened on the screen. The kick out by the tackle, and darn it,
Is there a lot Tyree did play more towards the end of the game. Are you considering personnel changes?
Well, I think, guys earn, right?
Mm-hmm.
They earn playing time based on their performance. And, Tyree has, because of how he practices, because of how he competes, I think that one third down we had a chance, that was a big, I haven't seen that a lot, I've seen bits and pieces, but, not to belabor that, but I just, there again, it goes back to kind of the question you're talking about. We need to continue the influx of those explosive playmakers in those critical spots. I thought Shaq Bell played a heck of a ball game, guys. I mean, he missed, I think, 2 tackles, but we had other guys around the ball at the time. Yet, I like the way he's competing.
How many missed tackles did you count?
I don't want to go there. It's, I mean,
More than one.
I've seen more. I saw more spinning. But you know what? Usually, and this is part of it too, is you got a swarm, right? So when a guy does spin, you have that other guy right there to get him. We were like, we looked. You guys ever seen a 5-point spinky? You know what that is? 5-point. You remember the old photos? You guys remember? When they take a lineman and they're flying through the air. They got 5 points. So you got your head and your arms and then your 2 legs. And you know what I'm talking about, those classic. Why don't we take those anymore, right? Classic photos. But we had a lot of guys throwing 5-point spinkies, man. And that's not how you do it.
Jim, Mike McIntyre made a quarterback change to a true freshman. Just as a coach, just general stuff.
Uh-huh.
What are the challenges of that, and what goes into that decision making?
Well, I think
well into a season.
Yeah, I think probably you're obviously making the guy must be ready to do it. I don't know that what it says one way or the other. I know how I view it is you're probably making that change for the future. And you wouldn't do it if you didn't think that was this year's best chance for you to be, win games. So, I can't speak for what they did.
From your perspective,
if
Nick Stevens
if he's
came
ready,
pretty close in August, apparently.
real close.
Yeah.
And yet, I'm not sure we had given Garrett enough real chances, coming off the injury. Really we had to kind of baby him all spring. I think of last year when I, put him in there and then we re-injured it. you know, in hindsight, you know, I probably, you know, if we could all live in hindsight,
Where are you
we'd
in
all
the
be rich.
quarterback? Where are you in the quarterback depth chart? I mean, if
He's,
if
you know, right
Grayson
now,
gets dinged.
right now, it really would depend on the severity of if something were to happen, I guess, right now to Garrett. You know, you're gonna make a long-term decision, or what's best for, you know, I also look at what's best for the individual. In this case being Nick, right? So if that's what you're asking. And, you know, I'm not so sure where it'd be right now. He and Connor both split the reps that we take with the different situational things during the week. And I think that's part of growing and getting yourself on film.
Well, we talked to some of the guys after the game. It seemed like they were kind of confused. I mean, they didn't really understand what had happened from one half to the next. Is that frustrating for you, or is it better because it shows that they thought they really never let up?
You know, I think that that's a double edge. I think, you know, I think they're searching, right? Because they're in a position where they've never been. Now, how do you handle the expectation moving forward? Yeah, it's, you know, look, it isn't a lot of fun walking into that locker room after what, you know, some of the things, you know, when you feel like you tangibly have it in grasp, right? I mean, that's not a lot of fun. Unless you like that kind of thing, right? I mean, that's not fun. And, you know, the fun is the game. The fun is going out and competing. You know, that and then the joy of winning is man, it's huge because of what you've invested. You know, you know, it's no fun getting in your car after that. It's no fun sitting there rehashing every single step you took, because that's what you do as a competitor. That's what you do as a player. That's what you do as a coach. And yet, when you know you're getting there and just haven't jumped over that mountain yet, you know, and it's coming. And here's another opportunity to get better. Here's another opportunity to play in a game that means so much to so many. And you know, that's got to be the focus.
You talked a little bit about your team being tense, and I think maybe look at Richard on the third down reception. How do you get them to relax in the big moments?
Yeah.
To just do what should come naturally to them?
Well, you know, part of that is showing them they've done it. Part of that is know this feeling, you know, and understand, you know. Richard, think about that third down curl that you caught, that you just tight turned and ran by everybody. You shouldn't put any more undue pressure on that play than you would, you know, running that dig route with a wide open middle of the field. And so, you know, that's really kind of how you do it. I mean, you've got it in you. Just go out and relax. You got yourself to the spot. Okay? Now let's go ahead and drink the water.
Is that the hard part, though? I mean, because you're probably, as you lose, you probably put more pressure on yourself to win. And then on top of that, you throw in a big rivalry game.
Yeah, and the expectations.
Where's
and
the tricky part in that, and then walking that fine line and getting them to do that?
Yeah.
Actually put in action.
I've seen some of it this year, so I know it's there. Now, you create habits, okay, through your actions. And it's showing the actions when you did it, and then showing the actions when it didn't quite work out the way you wanted it, and what are those reasons. Now in your mind, yourself, you've got to transition that. In other words, oh yeah, I can do it. Now let's just go relax and do it.
You talked a lot about, at the beginning, about defenders wanting to make the hard hit and losing track of the fundamentals, maybe of tackling. How do you fix that? Because you do have guys that delivered some big hits. One of your players, I think, I'm told, got on ESPN's hits of the day after
Really?
the first down.
Man, that's cool.
He was high-fiving, wanted to high-five Joey, and Joey wouldn't high-five him, but anyway.
Because it was expected.
Um,
No, I look back, we've been a good tackling team, guys. I mean, at least the games I watched. Now, were they maybe a little too aggressive? Those are things that you look. If I bring my feet and keep my eyes up like I did, I make this tackle, and that's really the point. I think moving from backwards to forwards, and look, it wasn't like they were trying to miss the tackle. I mean, they were definitely there and trying to do it with some force. So
I guess how do you balance the wanting to do it with force without losing the fundamentals? Because obviously you need both.
yeah, you do need both, and yet you show them on video, and you go back to your weekly tackle drills that you do from a everyday fundamentals called EDDs. Okay, everyday drills, and make sure you focus on what it takes to do it right.
Being the head coach, you have to make tough decisions, like your starting quarterback. But also earlier in the year, we heard that you were actually the one that called the fake field goal pass to Kevon, and in this last game, you decided to punt with 4 minutes left, needing a touchdown. How do you come to those tough decisions in crunch time, specifically the last game?
We were third and 9, or we missed the third down catch. I knew we had all 3 timeouts.
Yeah, sure.
Hayden was doing a pretty good job of pinning guys down inside the 20, and felt like we could stop them in the run game. And our guys have been pretty good against the run, so they're going to go into 4-minute offense, is what it's called. And I felt good about it. Now, had I known we were going to throw 5 no-hitters on that first set of drives, probably would have done it different. But I had to go with a historical precedence that we were pretty good against the run. So, that's where that decision came from. I got tired of practicing the fake field goal every Thursday.
For what, 2 years?
Geez, it seems like forever. So can we finally just run it, please? So,
I told you just wanted Kirby Smart to have to study for it.
Yeah, no, that's right. There was no, that's not. I enjoy that kind of stuff, and I look forward to the decisions. I really do. That's what makes a chess match what it is.
With the offenses, the way they're tearing up the conference this year, how imperative is it your offense become more consistent from half to half?
I think what we need to do is be more consistent in the time of possession and use that to our advantage to keep the other people a little more off the field. I'm getting at, because I'm not sure we're just this explosive, outfit. Now, I think we have hit some here and there, which is what we kind of have to do, but we got to find the balance in controlling the ball, controlling the line of scrimmage, making sure we account for our stacks on the inside, and keep the other team off the field. That's how you control a real good offense, is you do it with your own offense. So
Jim,
we've
if
got,
somebody told you going into the year that you were going to score 27 points in 4 games and lose them, or 3 games and lose them all, that's a little unusual to put that kind of points on the board and still be on the wrong end. Is that how much the game's changed?
no, I think I think you'll see it, but I think it goes in cycles.
Where you were, 27 won most games. More often than not.
But part of that is because we only maybe scored 27, but we also held the ball for 35 minutes out of the game. Because they weren't on the field.
Right.
So I think that's it's all part of how you think about it and how the whole game fits together, all three phases. Your field position, your lost yardage, your gain yardage, the hidden yardage, all that type of stuff. So, but one of the things we definitely have to do offensively is to help our defense get them off the field. And you keep them on the bench by keeping control of the ball, and it's something we need to do.
One last thing. I know you mentioned you're trying to help Calvin through some personal things.
Uh-huh.
Is there a chance he plays again this year? Is that your hope?
Oh,
He
yeah,
plays?
absolutely. Absolutely. And, my concern for every guy in this football team is to help them in any way I can. And, I just love that kid, and it'll be good.
Could he play this week, possibly?
It could. I mean, it depends on, how things are taken care of, and if he's ready, based on, some of the circumstances. And so, my deal is guys, I love each one of these guys like they're my own, and I'm gonna do what's best for them.
Considering he was in uniform, it's safe to say he wasn't suspended for academic or.
I mean, he's dealing with some things that, guys, I don't think it's fair that whatever those things are, when they're personal and family, that need to, I just don't.
Right, but it's not physical and it's not
physical.
academic.
Yeah.
That's
No.
what we're getting. It's
No.
not.
No, he's healthy. He's out there
He's
practicing.
healthy, he's eligible.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
healthy and he's eligible.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's-
Yeah.
That's
I
all,
won't
I think
press-
that's all we
I
were
won't
trying.
press
Okay.
further than that. I don't
Yeah.
need to know what it is.
No,
That's all we were trying
he's
to
not
He
hurt,
was in
Okay.
uniform.
and
he
he's
was on the
actually
field.
doing really well academically. I'm proud of him.
Okay. That's all, that's all we
Yeah.
were trying to get at.
Okay, guys. Thanks.
Thanks.
What do we have over here?
Yeah.
More consistent and more, and being more potent, and especially in a conference where offense is flying.
I think the biggest thing for this offense is just to continue to work in day after day. That's one thing. Our minds are focused on the goal that we set at the beginning of the season, and that hasn't faltered throughout this early part of the season. And we know there's still a lot of football to be played. There's a lot of games left, so it's just working hard as a unit. As starts with the O-line, we always put that on us. To get the running backs going, to give Garrett time to get the ball to the receivers and everything. So it's just working for consistency and just working together.
Is that the frustrating part? As you guys feel, and like Jim talked about it, you trust the effort you guys are giving. You're just not seeing it, I guess, on game days all the time. How frustrating is that to know that you guys are putting in the work?
It can get a little bit of frustrating, but at the same time, we know like there's progress to be made and can be seen each week, and we know that we're going to hit it in these next games to come up. So.
Is it easier to handle the losses when you know how close you were to being able to win, or does that make it worse almost?
For me personally, I mean, a loss is a loss. I mean, it never sits right, and if it's close or if it's a point, a big spread, but no matter what, you don't want to lose, and it irritates us all, especially in these past couple of games that we know how close we've been, and we know like just a play here or there, and it could have changed the entire thing. So.
Was it further frustrating that when you looked out in those stands, you saw a better crowd than has seen you play for a long time?
I wish I could
to
say.
send them home with a loss as opposed to a win, and maybe all the excitement that could have created.
Yeah, I mean that the loss was a little bit of disappointing, especially with the crowd turnout, and that's I give kudos to the fans for coming out there and supporting us like that, and I just want them to know that each week we're working to play harder so we can continue to give them something and get a win.
I'm just wondering how much that fan support meant to you guys.
It was pretty huge, I think, because to walk out there, coming out of the tunnel, and just to see, everything's filled up from corner to corner. I mean, that's a huge boost in moral support and everything like that. So,
What's the next step in taking that effort and practice to making it turn into points on the field?
I think it's consistency. When we go into the locker room, I try to remind everybody, at halftime there's 30 more minutes to be played. So it's just keeping our minds focused in practice and carrying that over into the games. that we have to play for 60 minutes, and finishing's a big thing. And that's one thing I know that our team is going to keep working on, and we're going to get it before the season's over.
Do you feel people are losing focus at halftime?
I really don't think we are. I think it's just one of those things. It's consistency. The focus is there. We're all together. We know what we're going to do. All adjustments that have been made in the locker room at halftime. We just have to go out there, be consistent, play after play after play, because we can't take one play off. So it's just the finish aspect that we are going to work on.
Are the problems you guys have more just execution, or are there some fundamental maybe game plan errors where somebody does something you're just not at all expecting and all ready for?
No, I definitely think the game plan that the coaches have put in each week, we've gone in there and smashed it, and you can see that from the first half of all the games. We start out fast, and then we just, I can speak for the offensive side, but we roll and we score points and everything. So it's just the consistency part that we go back to.
Is that the hard part for you? You scored 24 points in the first half, you scored 3 in the second half, and it's the same group.
It's a little. I mean, that can be a little frustrating, but we have to come together as a team and continue to adjust to their adjustments and just take that and fly
Brandon,
on the
growing
run.
up, you probably knew about SMU versus TCU and
Mhm.
OU versus Texas. What have you gotten to learn about Colorado State, Wyoming?
I've been a part of it this is my 5th game now, and when I came here, we lost the boot, so that's been my goal and mission since then, is to get that boot back, and we've come close a couple of times. But this is my final chance, so I know me and my brothers, especially seniors on the O-line, we're going to do everything we can
How
to get
heated
that
is the
boot back.
rivalry? What do you feel out there, even in practice the week of?
It's pretty intense. It's the focus is heightened throughout this entire week. There's so much stuff going around, and there's media coverages and everything. But we keep our minds focused on the right thing. We keep our minds focused on Wyoming, what we need to do in order to go out there and win.
On the field, how's it different against them?
That's pretty intense, and but we keep our heads. We let them do what they want to do, but no matter what, we're going to do the right things. We're going to do what we need to do to
Is
win
that
that
like
game.
finishing? I mean, blocks are finished.
Blocks will
more
be
and
finished. Oh
maybe
yeah.
Tackles are a little crisper.
Yeah,
I think,
right.
in a rivalry game.
Right, yeah, for sure. But it also comes down to the execution, not doing too much out of your own job responsibility too. So.
Do you personally like this rivalry better or the CU-CSU rivalry?
That's a tough one. I personally, I like both rivalries, but the one that annoys me a little bit more is this one because we haven't had that boot yet. So definitely want to get that back.
I was
here.
gonna say, how hard would that be for as a
Never.
senior to go your whole career without winning that thing?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
How hard would it be as a senior to walk away knowing you never won that game?
That would be pretty tough, to be honest. And I think that's what fuels a lot of us seniors on the team. We've only seen it, but in their hands, and especially when they came here and took it. So that's one thing I know that is going to be the fuel to our fire this week. That's going to propel us.
Do you pay much attention to what their program does year in and year out?
Not really.
I mean, 'cause if you look at the last 5 years, they've had a pretty good run, except for when the quarterback was hurt last year.
Right, yeah. To be honest, the only time I really pay attention to them is game week, yeah. So I'm not really worried about them.
Is that a key part of the game plan, though? Is that as explosive as Brett Smith has been, and he's 3rd in the nation in total offense? Your job is to keep him from having the ball as an offense.
Right. I guess that is one way to keep him off the field, but that's our goal each and every week is to be on the field, control the clock, run the ball, pass block when we're in pass situations, and convert on 3rd down. So I think that's, we're just going to do our game plan. We're not going to really worry about the other side of the ball. And if we execute, we'll come out on top.
Did this week's game feel like a step back at all? Given that you guys have made some progression during this, the Alabama game. Cal Poly, Alabama played well even though it was a loss to a great team. UTEP, a lot of things went right. Did this feel like maybe it was a little bit of a setback?
This past game?
Yeah.
I don't think it was a setback at all. I think no matter what, throughout the season, you're going to hit adversity and everything. But I know my teammates are. It's like taking a punch, but we know we're going to punch right back, and we're going to come back stronger than the next time because we're going to learn. We're going to learn from the film. We're gonna adjust and adapt and make the changes we need to do to come out harder next time.
What's it like to play in Laramie? This will be the second straight year that you guys are doing that. I think third time in 5 years.
Laramie's all right. I mean,
The
but
altitude's a little higher. Do you guys feel that at all?
no, that's one thing I can say. The way we practice and, you know, how intense it is, how fast it is, altitude really doesn't make a difference, you know. I feel like we're at the advantage no matter what team we play because the way we practice really helps our conditioning no matter what. So
What is that environment like when you walk in as an opposing player in the border war?
it's, you know, it's pretty heated. You know, not a lot of people like us when we go up there. So, I mean, if anything, that's a little bit more juice for us to get us going and everything like that. But
You kind of touched on it, but put it into words. What's it like? Like you said, you've seen the trophy, but them holding it.
right.
What are the emotions that go through you guys when you see them taking it year after year?
Frustration, but frustration is going to fuel positive energy.
You guys good?
Yep.
So, thanks, Brandon.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Brandon. So you go down and break down the game film. What are the things that are striking you that are happening not so well in the secondary, and what you guys are trying to do to kind of make the adjustments? and fixes?
Overall, it was just too many missed tackles by the entire defense. And then secondary, like, we just have to disguise more because, you know, they were throwing a lot of screens because we were playing off. And if you even show disguise, that can cancel the screen itself. So we just have to disguise more and play at the quarterback and just wrap up.
So are you supposed to be disguising some things and guys just aren't doing it right, or is that just wasn't part of the
I
plan?
mean, like, once the game starts, you just get caught up, and once you're off, you just a line off. But if you know, like, depending on the coverage, you know the press or not. So we just have to play with the quarterback, don't let them know what we're doing.
Shaq, you guys probably don't look a whole lot at the NCAA statistics or anything, but pass efficiency defense, you guys are next to last in the country. I would think that's something that would kind of hurt your pride. What do you guys as a secondary have to do to fix that?
Just come out and compete and challenge the receiver and quarterbacks, and you know we don't pay attention to the statistic, and we still believe like we're better than whatever we're ranked, and you know we just have to come out and play with confidence overall and just compete.
You go in week after week, you know teams are going to probably start trying to throw deep on you.
Mm-hmm.
Does it become something that's a mindset to where you've got to start watching for that as much as anything else, and that should put your attention in that direction?
Well, I know for myself, I want them to throw at me. You know, I haven't been getting a lot of action. So, I mean, I speak for the whole secondary. I know they want the ball thrown at them because that's a chance for us to make a play as well. So, we're not afraid that they're going to throw deep. We're hoping they do.
But are you more aware of it now? I mean, considering, you know, the past 2 games, you guys have
Mhm.
given up 5 long touchdown passes. Is it something that you guys will go into this game more aware, especially the way that Brett Smith can play? They're going to try and do it time after time.
Yeah, I mean, we're aware of it from, you know, watching film and the past 2 games. So, I mean, we're definitely, like, going to try to keep vertical leverage or whatever. But, I mean, it's still just coming down to competing.
Shaq,
Did
there's
it
been
benefit to have played David Fales this last week, going in this week and playing Brett Smith? Could they play similar? Do you think it was kind of like you do a clue which?
Well, from the way David Fales played, like, he scrambled a lot, but that's not who he is. But Brett Smith will scramble. He'll run the ball. You know, he'll look downfield as well. So, I mean, they're not so much similar, but it helped a little bit.
How difficult is it to defend Smith? Because he's hurt you the last 2 years, arms and legs. What kind of challenges does he present in defense?
I know for the secondary, it's just challenge you to keep your eyes on your man because, you know, they'll look downfield and the receiver knows their quarterback and they know once he's scrambling to get deep or come back towards him. So, I mean, we're just going to have to play disciplined football and do our jobs.
Coach mentioned this, and some of us have noticed it too. It seemed like this past game in particular, there was a real emphasis to kind of hit guys hard, and maybe as a result of that, you lost some of your fundamentals in tackling. I know Coach suggested maybe that was why there were as many missed tackles as they were, wanting to hit with more force. Is that something you saw, and is that something, how do you fix that?
Well, you know, like when guys go for the big hit, they usually don't wrap up. So, I mean, it's just comes back to practice with like doing tackling drills and making sure you're wrapping up and running your feet and stand up, not going to the floor.
Is it easy to kind of forget to wrap up when you do want to deliver a big blow on someone?
It is sometimes because you're just thinking like, I'm going to put a good hit on him. You're not thinking about wrapping him up. You're thinking he's going to fall when you hit him. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of difficult.
And then the other part of this secondary is mostly sophomores. That's always a tough year.
Yeah.
DBs, it seems like there is sort of a sophomore slump a lot of guys go through, where they maybe played as freshmen like these guys, and then you kind of learn a lot and then struggle maybe a little sophomore year and then come back. Do you sense that maybe your secondary mates are going through a little bit of that sophomore slump?
I don't think so, because, I mean, overall, I still feel like they've been playing good. You know, maybe got beat on a couple plays, but that's football. You know, it's going to happen at that position, but I don't think none of them are going through it.
Jim did suggest that maybe he thinks that sometimes you guys are tensing up at key moments. How does this team learn to relax and just play in the moment?
Well, I mean, like, usually after the first series, like, you get comfortable, you feel like the offense tempo, so then you become relaxed. So you just have to get a good feel for them early and then just play football after that.
Do you guys feel like, maybe as players, do you feel like there may be some tensing up going on in key moments of games where things aren't going your way?
I don't feel it personally, but maybe some of the other guys on defense do.
Oh, was this a tough film for you guys to watch as a secondary when you guys went back and watched film yesterday?
It was, but then again, it's just small things like, well, we know if we'd have been positioned here, then this play wouldn't have happened. But it wasn't like a horrible film compared to last year. Last year was way worse, I think.
Is it the frustrating part for you, though, is that you see, like you guys have been telling us, there's just small things to correct, but it's week after week you guys are saying, we just need to correct these things, and they haven't always happened. Is that the frustrating part for you guys, is that maybe it's a new mistake this week, you haven't played that complete game or been able to get everything all tied up in a nice package?
Well, yeah, that's definitely frustrating because, you know, after you see it on film, you correct it in practice, and then, like, you try to eliminate that going into the next game. And if it happens again, you just have to – you can't lose confidence. You can't be shaky. You just have to stay with what you're doing and just keep playing.
Is it the same little things, though, or is it, like Mike suggested, maybe a different little thing that pops up the next game?
Well, you know, it's different things. I know this week it was mainly tackling, and for UTEP it was just, like, covering the deep ball once in the third quarter. So, I mean, there's little things, but – different here and there.
And how hard is it on the secondary to stay in your coverage when a quarterback's running around like Fales did to you guys and like Brett Smith's going to do? Or he's keeping a play alive with his feet for maybe 10, 12 seconds as opposed to 3 or 4 seconds.
It is hard because, like, you see the defensive line getting pressure and maybe, like, you want to run up to, like, celebrate, but he hasn't made the tackle yet. So at that moment, you just have to be disciplined and lock onto your man, and they're going to keep running back and forth, like, trying to shake you off them. And, I mean, we know that if the quarterback's scrambling and they're, like, running a curl or something, that they'll go deep. And if they ran a deep route, they'll come back to them. So we know those things. We just have to have good eyes.
Is that something you have to focus on more this week even than ever, though?
Yes.
Knowing the kind of quarterback and the way he does keep those plays alive?
Yeah, we have to be very disciplined with our eyes.
Last week when Fales scrambled, you guys were expecting him to eventually throw. The trick this week is, Smith has rushed for 420 yards. How fine a line is that to know when to come up to take away his run, knowing, though, that he's become a better passer and is still probably looking down the field? How hard is it to make that distinction when to commit one way or the other?
Well, you're just going to have to feel what the line of scrimmage is or if he's getting close to crossing it. But we still have to do our job. There's guys up front that can handle him, and they'll get it done.
So is that the way you think as a defensive back? You expect him to throw until he crosses that line? Is that the way you guys have to approach him?
Yeah, we know, like, once they get closer to the line, like, and I'm pretty sure the quarterback knows that's when, like, they start, like, DBs start to creep up. So at that moment, you just have to let the linebackers, the defensive line, make the tackle or whoever's around him.
Right, like you said, though, if a quarterback senses if he gets closer, you guys might creep up. Is that when he's most dangerous?
Yes.
Yeah.
What have you learned about the rivalry over the years?
That it's very intense. I played at their stadium twice, and I know they don't like us, we don't like them. Like the whole state comes out to watch that game, and it's just heated.
How tough is it to watch them dance around with the trophy every time? A trophy that you guys have
Yeah.
nobody on this team's ever had.
It's like Brandon said, it's frustrating, angering. It's all of the above, but I mean, we're just gonna use that like as more motivation to get it back in our hands.
Have you ever gotten to touch it?
No.
Just watched it.
Do you guys get excited about these rivalry games?
Yes, because we haven't had the boot. I haven't had it since I've been here, so I mean that's our primary goal. To whatever we have to do is bring that boot back.
Which respect do you have for Smith as quarterback? I mean, you've squared off against him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He's a gamer.
Yeah, I know. I respect him. You know, he's progressed over the years. You know, he's been throwing the ball well, running well, and he's competitive. Like he'll talk junk to you or talk a little smack on the field.
He does.
Yeah, he does. So I mean, you don't usually get that from quarterbacks, so that just makes it like more makes you want to get after him more.
Yeah.
Does that make it even more difficult to kind of stay focused when he's talking jump to you? To not creep up and go hit him?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you just have to be smart because he's talking to get in your head. So
Right.
How hard is it this year to be a defender in this conference with all the offense that's being thrown around?
I don't think it's that hard. I just think it's an opportunity like to showcase how good we are and what we can do and make plays.
You guys all right?
Thanks, Shaq.
Thanks, Shaq. Look,
Yep, thank you.